Welcome to VidZet. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. This will be my last post before I travel for a couple of weeks, and it's uncertain whether I will be able to make any posts while I'm gone, so it may be a little while before I'm up again. Yesterday's ruling by the Supreme Court on President Trump's executive order banning travel from 6 nations that are sponsors of terrorism is very important for us to understand. And there are only a handful of very key points in it. First, and this is very, very important for us to understand, foreigners do not have constitutional rights. Period. End of story. If you are a German, you've never been to the United States, you don't have a visa, you don't have any constitutional rights. Same thing for a Syrian or a Saudi or anybody else. The key is, if you aren't an American, you don't get constitutional rights. Our Constitution protects us, not somebody else. 2, only Americans with specific, bona fide connections to specific foreigners have any standing to enter court. Now, let me point out what a specific connection is typically. First, if you have someone, as in one of the plaintiffs in the case, whose mother-in-law has been to the U.S. 2 or 3 times and they're trying to get her back in, that's a very specific bona fide connection. If you have a visiting scholar who has already been contracted to come and teach at a university, that's a specific bona fide connection. But the key is, you can't go generate a new one. It is pre-existing. The second part of this has to do with what's called standing. Now, the term actually refers to the idea of going into the court in front of the judge to stand in front of him to plead your case. And in order to be able to do that, you have to have what's called a justiciable interest. In translation, plain English, this means you have an injury that is appropriate for that court to look at and potentially to answer, maybe to make better. But you have to have that specific circumstance to have standing. The University of Hawaii, which has asserted a general injury of, well, we wouldn't be able to recruit foreign students or foreign professors, doesn't have a justiciable interest. They have no specific injury. What they have is a speculative maybe, and that doesn't even get you into court. Third, the big deal here is this is a temporary order. It overturns those nationwide injunctions which said the president can't ban people from those 6 countries. It says no, he can ban them. And if you read between the lines, you'll start to pick up why. But before we get to that, the final arguments on this are going to be in October. So there will be a final ruling. And I'm not going to deal with all of the nuances with why a 60-day ban would have them coming up into October. But this is a very important issue. If we look at what the court said, it's very clear. The president has a primary responsibility to protect the country. He couched his order in terms of that. There is very specific reason to suspect that there are problems with people coming from those countries. Therefore, he is clearly within his authority to protect the country. Now, at final hearing, they might have some nuances and whatnot, but it's unlikely that they're going to do anything to overturn what they've already said or to modify it in any great big way. In essence, what the court will almost certainly say is the president has the authority, which has already been given him by Congress, and the courts don't get to even look at it unless there is a very specific circumstance of one person or 2 people who might have a reason to be here. But otherwise, sorry, Charlie, this court doesn't hear this case because the court has no jurisdiction. This is the president's bailiwick. This is a good day for America. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. Thanks for listening.